Hi, hola, welcome, Bemvindo to Yarn Stories with Olivia, or Contos com Olivia. Thank you all for joining me today. It is the first week of April 2024, and I am coming to you from the south coast of Massachusetts, where I live with my husband, my two adult sons, and our cat Gary, who is the only one at home with me right now, and he is sitting right in front of me looking out the door at a very beautiful, round, healthy looking bird. And some of you have let me know that you enjoy my little snippets of Gary, so I'll try to add a little bit of him here and there on my podcast, since he is such a big part of my life. And he's okay with me recording him and putting his photos. I don't have to ask for his permission, like the grown sons who are like, no, don't, please don't. So anyway, so welcome. I just want to say that I am in awe of the new followers that I've acquired since the last podcast. I was at around the 200 mark with the last episode. And then I got some mentions on some podcasts that I watch, which I'll talk about towards the end during story time, because there's a few people that I wish to thank, and people that I consider friends, and they're tied to my first experience with Rhinebeck and the Hill, and my growth as a knitter. And I'll add that towards the end so I don't bore you with that here. Let's start by talking to you about what I'm wearing, which is not a new item to the collection by any means. It is something from the archives, and there's a reason why I chose to wear this. I knit back in May of 2023, and I wanted to use it today because the weather here is just perfect. It's spring, it's starting, it's nice and airy for me to wear with my work dress, which I'll be heading off to work in a little while. So this was a good outfit to podcast with today. So it is the Love Note. I think most of you are familiar with it or have made some of them. I myself have made 3. It is the Love Note by Tin Can Knits. And it is this version that I made, was made exactly to pattern, with the sleeves to my desired length, so that I'm not pushing them up at work. So they're 3/4 sleeve length. It is a cropped version. As you will see, it's right down to my waistline with where I've got the room for my pockets. And it's just a very comfy, wearable top that I absolutely adore. And for those of you who follow me on Instagram, which is what I forgot to say at the beginning, you can find me on Instagram as Olivia30M, or on Ravelry as Olivia30. And all of my projects that I talk about, everything that I've knit or crochet, I have it all documented on Ravelry. I've been a Ravelry user for a very long time, and that's where I keep all of my notes of my makes and yarns and needles and all of that stuff. Besides that, I also will make sure that in the description box below, all of this information will be linked. Although I don't think a lot of you who are watching knitting podcasts need much information on this item here. So it is, as I said, the Love Note by Tin Can Knits, and I knit it using hand-dyed fingering yarn by Kevin of Needles at the Ready podcast. The colorway is Winter Steel, so it's gray, because for those of you who've watched my last few episodes, you know that I'm a big fan of gray. A lot of my garments are gray. And also a lot of my garments are in the blues, because those are the colors that I prefer to wear. And so this color is called Winter Steel. So it's got a little sheen of, that steel color to it. And I combined it with Knit Picks Aloft in the color silver. And I had purchased 2 skeins from Kevin, and I had three balls of the Aloft. And I ended up using 1.5 skeins of the Winter Steel, and I did use the 3 balls of the Aloft. Actually, yeah, I used pretty much 2 1.75, I think is what I saw in my notes that I used on the loft. So it was perfect. But so anyway, that's the outfit for today. That's the love note and Kevin's yarn from Needles at the Ready podcast. Yeah, they do have a shop, which you should pop on over. I'm going to put the link down below. You should pop on over to go see the yarn that Kevin has. He has recently done a shop update and he has a good variety of colors. I've purchased several different colors and have made a couple of shawls already with some of his yarn, but this was the first garment I made with this yarn and I just absolutely love it. And I've made, like I said, 3. I've made one that I'm going to show you now, which was my first practice one. And this is why I say about liking grays and blues. Is my first practice one. Same thing, the same sleeve, same lace. It was also cropped. I did the short rows in the back to make it a little longer on this one as a practice on the short rows. But you'll see from my notes on Ravelry, if you pop on over there, that this was a total practice piece. There's a couple of design elements from Olivia with some of the short rows, because this was to practice short rows. And but not to say, as you can see, like here, I don't know what I did here. If you look at, I've got these little design elements before the rib, but it's fine. I ended up using it for a while to work before I made this one. And I used, I call this my frugal love note. I used loops and thread, Joy DK, and it had been on clearance, I think at $2.97 a ball, and I used 4 balls. So this is a $12 garment that, you know, I do use it still on days that I know I'm going to be moving some stuff around, so I'm not so worried about it getting caught. Because with this one, I make sure when I wear this one, it's on a day that I know I'm just going to be in the office doing administrative work. And the other love note that I made was in the same yarn, and it was in a teal blue, and I gifted that to one of the girls at work. So there's my 3 love notes, and I'm sure that there's going to be another love note at some point, since it's just a perfect, and I got, like, it just fits perfectly on me. I just absolutely loved how this one came out. So that was from the archives. On terms of going on to new to the collection, and I'm going to try to not wax on about it because you've all heard me talking about it for quite a while now, and it is today the last time I will be talking about this. It is the Coulet Caramelo by Felipe Carneiro, a designer with Rosarios Quatro Yarn, a Portuguese yarn company, and it is Filipa Ninoy. She is Filipa Ninoy on Ravelry. You'll be able to find her designs there. So it is done. And for those of you who follow me on Instagram, you will have seen me post it yesterday. And it is completely done. Last time I showed you, I hadn't finished to the hem. It's all done to the hem. Completely done. All done. And it is it was worn, has been worn to work all day, a day last week on Thursday. And here's the saga with this piece. I'm not even going to admit to it, but maybe I should, because I know my friend Robin is saying, when are you ever going to learn? I didn't swatch. I don't have the patience to swatch. I just want to do the item. So I should have swatched, because if I had swatched it, I would have washed the yarn and I would have seen how much the yarn grows. I'll insert a picture here of what it looked like when I finished it. It fit me perfectly. And then I washed it and blocked it. I didn't stretch it out. I just put it on top of a towel to dry. And then when I put it on, I said, oh, it feels a little warm. It feels really soft. It's very soft, very comfortable wear. It feels like a cozy sweatshirt that you want to wear in the winter. Really comfortable wear. And I wore it to work. And by the end of the night, the neck had gone from like this to all the way to my shoulders. I felt like I was back in the flash dance days with a sweatshirt. It was all the way to here, and I was so disappointed because of my own fault, right? Because I should have done what every knit is supposed to be doing. And because it is a rolled over collar, so you knit the rows and then you attach the collar together to finish the body. So to redo the collar was going to be a little bit of work. So I chose to just sit on it for a couple of days, and then I figured out what it was that I was going to do, because I had watched Sophie of Cozy Meadow Knits podcast. She had talked about a collar on this garment that she made that came out too wide, and she had used elastic thread to cinch it in. So I thought that might work. That's something that if I was wearing this and I had told my mom this was the problem I had, she would have said, yeah, we'll just put some elastic through it. So I did. And so first I should show you what's this. It's called, it's this kind of thread. It's elastic. I picked up the black and I picked up white, and that's what I did. So I threaded the elastic through, and you're not gonna be able to see it, but there's my little end. If it starts to get loose, I can pull it and tighten it a little bit more. So I threaded the elastic through, and it cinched in the collar perfectly to where I'm now comfortable with wearing it. But I also did it for the sleeves because I felt that the sleeves tipped up a little bit too much. So I did the same thing. I threaded it through the sleeves. There's the, if you can see that where it goes. So I did it in and out. I don't know if you can see that. It's going to be hard to see. But it worked beautifully. So now it has cinched it in at the neck, cinched it in at the sleeves, and I wore it with a t-shirt style, a long sleeve t-shirt, and it was perfect for running errands around on Saturday as a vest over the t-shirt. And it's great. I'm gonna get lots of wear of it, and I can see where it's going to end up being what I like to call camper couture, which is where a lot of my items, after I've worn them for a while, if they're really comfortable, it's something that I know that it's gonna be easy care, I put in our camper so that in the fall or when we start camping in the spring and it's still cold, it'll be something that I'll wear. But in the meantime, it was something that I wore on Saturday after doing errands, and even when I sat down to knit, it's what I was wearing as a sweatshirt kind of thing. So that is the Culet Caramelo. I'll have the link to the pattern. I did knit a size large. Yeah, I think the next time I would definitely swatch, because I could have gotten away with going down a needle size and possibly a size medium. But I'm closing the chapter on this thing. So that's done. So that was that adventure. And I did have a couple of other projects that have been in the way. One that was a surprise and one that's a palette cleanser. So I'll talk about the palette cleanser afterwards, but let's talk about what was an unanticipated new project that landed on my lap. So last weekend, we had made plans to go up to Newburyport, which is a beautiful town north of us here on the coast of Massachusetts. We're on the southern side of Boston. Newburyport is on the northern side of Boston. And we visited the area a few times and we love it. And it seemed like early spring was coming, and we thought what a beautiful time to go visit Newburyport. So let's head up for the day and stay overnight, and then back home on Sunday. Well, early spring came and went in a flash. It is New England, so our weather can change quickly. But we chose not to cancel our plans because it'd been a while since we'd done a road trip by ourselves. We tend to travel a lot with our boys, and this time it was, let's just, the two of us, we'll grab a dinner of our choosing. We'll walk to where we feel like walking. We'll go grab snacks and a drink at a bar of our choice. And so we stuck to the plan. And of course, it was easy for me to stick to the plan because there was a yarn store in Newburyport that I hadn't had a chance to go to, because each time we've gone up there, it's been closed. It was going to be open on that Saturday. And so off we went. Of course, there was some snow and rain, and it was cold and it was miserable, but I enjoyed it. The yarn shop was lovely. The lunch we had was great. The time that I had to knit without interruptions from Gary was great. Yeah, I leave the house now to get away from my cat. When you have little ones, you need a little bit of time to yourself. My husband and I need a little bit of time away from Gary because he's just such a love bug. He has to be with us all the time. So anyway, so we wandered into, and it was the South End Yarn Company in Newburyport, and I'll add some photos, or if I haven't added photos yet, of our trip up. So the photos will show just how miserable the weather was up there, but inside the yarn shop, it was absolutely lovely. So we went to the yarn shop and looked around because my husband was very supportive of all of my yarn ventures. In fact, there's been times when he'll ask me if there's a yarn shop I want to go find, so we can make it a day trip. So we make it a trip. Even my older son will ask. It's something that we have been doing for years. So he's very supportive of my desire to pop into shops here and there to see what's there. So anyway, we walked into the shop and nobody was there at the time, and the owner admired the hat that I was wearing, and I'll put a photo of what hat it was that I was wearing. And my husband was very impressed that she admired my hat, and he said, yeah, she made it, which was so sweet. I made it with yarn from a sweater that I had made, which was the also a tin can pattern, tin can knits pattern. It was the flax, and so I showed my sweater. She recognized it, and of course there was a love note on the mannequin, and he said, "Isn't that one like yours? You've made one of those too." So it was really nice that he recognized that. But anyway, we looked at the yarn, and I was telling him, do you want to pick up some yarn for me to make you socks now that, you've realized that merino wool socks and your feet go well together? And bless him, as the British say, he says, that's a $28 skein. No, that's a $29 skein. No, that's too much money. And I thought, you have no clue. No clue that that's the going rate of all of the skeins I have in the house. But anyway, he wanted was a hat, so he went over to where the worsted weight was, and he saw a hat on the mannequin, and he said, "Oh, I really like this hat. It's light. The yarn is soft." So there was a wall of the yarn, which was the yarn was Blue Sky Fibers, wool stock worsted. And I asked him, I said, well, go ahead, just choose the yarn that you would like. And he did. He chose the gray, which he chose the cast iron. So this is the Blue Sky Fibers yarn, and he chose the cast iron, and it was $10. So he felt like that was a good price for him, a good price point for him for his hat. So I worked on the hat, and I made his hat, and this is what it looks like. So this is the pattern. And the pattern is it's a free pattern on Ravelry. It is the Alpine, I believe, yes. It's the Alpine hat by Karnina Marie. And there were these minis also there that went with the full skein to make the hat, but I knew I had worsted weight scraps that I could use. So here's the hat. So it is the cast iron, the Blue Skies cast iron on the bottom. I used some of my scrap from the Terra Tweed from the Caramello. I use a Cascade 220 scrap, which was the color of my hat that I was wearing. It is, I believe, colorway wine. It's a Cascade 2020 from a long time ago. Some yarn, I can't remember what this one was, but it might have been a Cascade 220 at some point too. I didn't have the band for it. And then the blue here is worsted weight. It's Woolies that I had for the row. I thought it would be, and it did. The weight of this with the wool stock is perfect. So the Woolies, and then this is the top one is also a Cascade 220. The Cascade 220 that I had. I have several of these balls. So, and then wrapped it up with the wool stock at the end again. So that's his hat. So he was very happy with it, very happy with the lightweight of the hat, very happy. But it did come out a little slouchier than the hats I've made for him. And he has to fold it over a little bit, and he's not, he thought it was gonna be more of a skull cap. So I told him, I said, well, I have enough yarn left over. I'll make another one, and I'll just make less in the rib and in the first few rows. So that's what I did. I cast on another one. And so here it is. But this one, I reversed the colors. So I reversed the colors, reversed it, and I didn't have enough of the gray, but I had this other dark gray Cascade 220. So I tacked that on at the end. This is all that I've got left of the wool stock. And now we've got 2 matching hats for us to wear. So 2 new Alpine hats to add to the collection, and in the reverse color. And I have a hunch he's not gonna know the difference. I mean, the difference in wasn't much, and he's colorblind, so he's not gonna pay attention to the colors. He's just gonna grab a hat and use it, which is fine. It's 2 of them that are gonna go into the bin with the hats, and we'll see if he uses these, because I've made him a lot of hats, a lot of Benjamin Matthews hats, and so he's got a lot to choose from. So we'll see if he ends up wearing these. So these are new to the collection. After the Caramello, I started to work on the Fletching, and I was making great progress on it, and it's looking fantastic. I blocked it out, and it blocked out beautifully. So my color work is on point. I blocked it, I tried it to make sure it fit over my head. It does. And I was just making some good headway with it. I was doing it. I had the short rows all done and about ready to split for sleeves when I realized that I had done the short rows incorrectly, the same way I did with the practice love note. So I had little bumps on my short rows, and I just didn't like it. I said, if I'm going to do this, I have to do this right. So I tinked back all the way back to the row before the short rows. So I had to go all the way back over here. I took all of this back, and I was just, I'm done. I'm done knitting a garment. I don't know if this is for me. It's just, it was frustrating. So I put it aside, and in order to give myself a little bit more assurance that I'm a good knitter, I decided to do just a cowl, just a simple cowl. And the cowl I made is the, let me see, I wrote it down, right? It was the Norland Park Cowl by Rosenfeld, and it's an impeccable, see if I don't rattle you here. It was an impeccable tweed. I just grabbed the skein from my acrylic stash and wanted to use it to do just a simple, the cowl. It's a one skein project, one ball project. So it's the Norland cowl, and it's a 2x2 pattern, but then every fourth row it's a purl row, just to give it that texture. And what I did was I started off by knitting it English style, the way I normally do with the flipping of the yarn, and then towards the bottom I decided to do it Portuguese style because I'm a much looser knitter. Okay, here we are. Part 2 of this video. It's now the end of the workday. I had to stop recording because there was someone at the door and I had to go answer, and I just decided it's best to just do it for the end of the day. So I was talking to you guys about the Norland cowl, which I worked on as a palette cleanser for all of the adventures I was having with knitting of the caramello and of the fletching with the short rows. So I was saying that I knit this as a simple, it's a 2x2 rib pattern with a few rows afterwards in garter to break up the 2x2 rib. It's an easy knit, and I had started it as a knitting it English style, and then since I figured I would use this as a practice for my Portuguese knitting, which is with the yarn around my neck, and it's with my thumb for the purl, and for the knitting, there's a different way of handling the needle, and I haven't perfected the knitting part of it yet. So this is what I ended up using. So you'll see that this is the same needle, the same amount of stitches, but it's much looser on the bottom than the top. And that's because of my choice to change my knitting style halfway through as a practice piece. And that's what this is. And this is gonna go into the donation box at the library, as you know, as a call if somebody needs something to stay warm. So let me see, I'll put it on so you can see how it fits. It's just a nice little shrug. Really easy to make. Took me, you know, not long, but nice way to use some of the acrylic, and it works out pretty nicely. So this free pattern on Ravelry, the Norland Cowl by Rosenfeld. So, and what I did then was with with the rest of the yarn that I had, so you can almost see it how it just grows out, flares out more on the bottom. So the rest of the yarn that I had from this, since I want to use everything up, I had balled it up, and I had this other yarn and stash that I wanted to use up. And because again I was still on that mode of I just need something quick and easy to work on, and my go-to is always crocheting the beanies. So here's 2 more for the donation pile. And the black is the tweed, which I still have enough to make a few more hats. And I've started another one. And for this, I'm using this Hobie Amigo yarn. It's a 4-weight. It's a very light 4-weight, and it crochets up really nicely for these hats. And what I forgot to mention the last time when I was talking to you about these Ollie hats that I make is that I use a size H 8mm hook for all of these hats. So the stitch count is the same, whether it's this kind of a worsted weight or if it's any other kind of, I'm trying to think what some of the other one is that I've got downstairs, which now I'm drawing a blank, but basically it's the same needle for all of my hats, same size needle for all the hats that I make. So that's 2 more crochet beanies to go into the donation pile with the cowl that got finished up as, I think it'll look really nice as a set. So that's that. So needless to say, with all of that, I did not swatch for the Alentejo sweater. You were also fantastic with your comments, and got some great responses, and a lot of yeah, the blues would be nice. Blue is my favorite color. Brown is a good color. Brown would go good with your skin tone. So I've made a decision that when I do swatch, when I'm ready to swatch, because I need a little bit, I'm going to concentrate on finishing my fletching, which I should have said that my fletching is by Jessica McDonald. And again, everything that I mention will be in the description box below, the designer, what the pattern is, what yarn I'm using, etc. But I had talked quite a bit about my fletching in the last episode, so I didn't go into too much detail on that one. So I've made the decision that I'm going to do the Alentejo, and I'm going to go with a brown, which was my first idea. It was going to be with the brown. And for those of you who may have not caught the episode, the last episode, I talk about this decision that I had to make about which yarn to use to make this an Alentejo sweater, something that I've got in my queue. And I think the brown is going to work with this, and I'm just going to go with my first. But you were also wonderful, in that it was a tie. It was half for blue and half for brown, and a lot of you going swatch and then go with the one that works best. So yeah, I'm gonna go this route, and then we'll see what's left, because then this was the blue that I was going to use. This was the other option, but I can always use this for something else. So next episode, hopefully, I'll have a swatch to show you if I haven't started on this project by the next one. Again, it's all going to depend on how I make it through with the fletching, my fletching, I should say. So yeah, that's my works that I had in processing. Other than that, what I showed you on the first one, I haven't really made much progress on, but it has been my car knitting or my restaurant knitting when we go and there's a little bit of a wait, which is the Hitchhiker by Martina Bem. It's an older pattern. It's one I've made many of, and it's a great zoom scarf. It's a great car knitting scarf. It doesn't take much for concentration. It is just a garter stitch net, and this is where I am. And I believe the last time, yep, there's my stitch marker from the last time I showed you this, the podcast that I showed you two episodes ago. So it starts off with a little, a few amount of stitches, and it's like a staircase, and then, or teeth, I guess you can call them teeth, and it just grows. You're increasing every 7 rows, and then binding off 6 stitches. and then you increase at the other end. And this was a yarn that was supposed to be for a color pooling project, which was going to be the depth cowl, which I frogged, and this is what the yarn looks like. This is fiber seed. Fiber seed, let me see, now I forgot. Do I have the tag? Yes, fiber seed sprout sock. Yeah, fiber seed sprout sock. And lavender and oak colorway. It is a fingering weight yarn, and it's 510 yards to the skein. So this is going to be a nice sized scarf. I have several of these. I have one that I call my Zoom scarf, or my that I started in March of 2020, and every time we had a Zoom call, I knit on it, and I'll have to show it to you one day. It's something that I wear often to work because it kind of matches a lot of my outfits. So anyway, I know that this is a very wearable project. So making a little bit of progress on this one. Each time we go, see, look, there he goes. Gary, go away. So every time we go for a car ride or out for dinner, I bring this with me. So that's that one. That's the work in progress update on that one. And the other thing I brought out to show you, and I would have posted pictures, but I figured I would show it to you here as well, because I think I'm going to add this to my list of makes. After the caramelu is finished, I still have 2 cakes of the Husariush Terra Tweed that won't really be enough to do much of a garment. So I figured I'm going to do hats with this. And the hat that I want to make, because it I always get compliments on it when I wear it, and it worked up really fast, and it's a free pattern on Ravelry, and it's the hat that I would have showed you before that I used when we went into the yarn shop, and the yarn shop owner recognized it and she admired it. I don't think I ever got to tell her what the pattern was, but it is this hat. You would have seen me wearing this. I used most of the Cascade 220 I had left over from working on my tin can knits, the flax. And so this pattern is the horseshoe cable hat, and it's a free pattern. I think I said that, and it is by La Violette Knits on Ravelry, and she had a yarn shop, which she now no longer has, but this is such a beautiful free pattern that she offered, and it fits really nice. And I'm going to take a chance and put it on and not mess up my hair. So it fits me perfectly. I just love how it fits. It's light, and yeah, it'll be an easy knit. Again, it's got cables, and I know I had said in earlier podcasts that I'm not exactly a cable person. But for some reason, this one, when I knit it back it was in January of 23. I knit this because we had gone to New York and I needed a hat to wear. We'd gone to see a play in New York City. So I had made this. So I have made cables before. I just had a hard time with that. But yeah, it's got two sets of cables there. So it's a really pretty hat. Highly recommend this pattern. So I'll probably be doing a few of them in this, and I've got plenty of pom-poms that I can add to it. So these will end up in the gift box eventually, which by the way, right now has got yarn in there. I don't know if you remember, I had other colored yarn up here, but I had to put it in here in order to make room for the Valley yarn that I bought. So yeah, I'm gonna have to work through that to start putting these patterns in there. So I think I've about hit everything from my notes that I wanted to talk to you about. I think I even managed to line myself back up, right? The way I was earlier. The hair is still seeming to be behaving the way it needs to be. So all I've got left, well, no, I did want to talk to you about one more thing, which is I forgot the last time I mentioned that I purchased some yarn at Skein Yarn Shop. When we had gone, when they were having a sale. And this was the yarn that I purchased. from Skein, which is Feederbrook Farm DK Equilibrium DK in Chartreuse Fern. I'm trying to go out of my comfort zone with colors, so when I saw this, I thought this would be a nice addition to the collection. I bought it to go with, I should show you this because the box got full, right? So guess what I did? I went out and found another decorator box. And in here is where I've got the yarn that I got from Skein. So inside this little box, I have so Barocco's Lana in the navy. I had used this for the Mycroft, and I really enjoyed working with this yarn sweater if I perfect my fletching. So I thought this was a good match. Yeah, so so I've got 6 balls in here. And then I also picked up, oh, it's up there, okay. And I also picked up this skein of Ken yarn in the black and a little bit of white. It's Ken yarn Aurora fingering, and for a pair of socks for the husband, because you know merino wool and his sock and his feet go together now. He really enjoys them. So we're gonna either that or this would make a real nice shawl, wouldn't it? Or a nice scarf. But I do that every time I'm touching merino wool, even with a fingering. I'm sorry, even with a nylon content. I just imagine it as a nice neck piece. So who knows what it's going to end up being. But in the meantime, it's here decorating in this basket along with the Feederbrook. So that's, I believe, everything that I had to show you. The last piece that I wanted to talk to you about was the mentions of the podcasts that have suggested, recommended me, mentioned me on the podcasts and sent people over. It's been a wonderful experience for me. I have, the first mention that I heard on the podcasts of mine was from Carrie from Creative Obsession. Carrie is an amazing maker. I've known her, I've watched her, I should say I've known her because I've been watching her for 4 years, and I enjoy every episode. She's such an amazing maker. She'll quilt, she dyes yarn, she spins, she knits, she is crocheting. All of her makes are wonderful, and there's just something about her laugh that makes me always want to giggle along with her when she talks about some of her makes or some of her adventures. So yeah, Creative Obsession, fantastic podcast. Pop on over to give her a watch if you haven't heard of her yet. I was lucky enough to meet her during New York Sheep and Wool Rhinebeck. Totally someone that I could see myself sitting and knitting with for afternoons at a time. So that was Carrie. And then the Knitting Posse also gave me a mention. Kate, Kim, and Laura. I met them in, we did a yarn crawl in 2021, June of 2021. I did a yarn crawl with my friends, and we popped over to Knit New Haven in Connecticut as part of our yarn crawl, and there I met Kim and Kate. Fantastic people to hang around with. They were just so warm and welcoming, and getting to know them was great. And then I ran into them again at New York Sheep and Wool, and they remembered me, and I was a little gobsmacked that they remembered me from that little trip to the yarn shop. but they were wonderful, and they Olivia, and my son and my husband were with me. They're like, they know you. I said, yeah, they do. They know me. So that was great. It was great that they mentioned my podcast as well, because I enjoy spending time with them. They're amazing makers. The level of knitwear that they produce is inspiring. They've just they have an ability to work. I mean, there's 3 of them, so the content obviously will be a little bit more than what you're getting from me. So definitely worth a watch with them as well. And the last but not least, the amazing mention from my friends Kevin and Ray at Needles at the Ready. Again, I met them for the first time, was at Knit New Haven when we did the yarn crawl. I had been following along with a podcast from day one when Kevin uploaded his first episode. I had stumbled on his episode, and I just watched from there. So I've seen all of 100 plus episodes that they have up. But did meet them at the yarn crawl that we went to in 2021, and discovered that they were just as real as they are, as you see them on the episode. They're warm, they're funny, just again, amazing human beings. And over time we've gotten together a few times. We met up again Rhinebeck of 2021 as well, and the friendship has just grown from there. So I really appreciate that mentioned my podcast, and that some of you took their advice and popped on over and have left me comments and have said that you've enjoyed what I'm putting out there. So thank you to all of you who've come on over. Thank you to these 3. It's 3 for the knitting posse, right? So that's 3 of them. With Kevin Ray, that's 5. So all 6 of these podcasts. And also, I shouldn't forget to say that, I've been getting a lot of love from Sophie at Cozy Meadow Knits. She's been there for me from day one, as has Karnina from Vao de Escada, the Portuguese podcast. They both have been great support to me as I've gone into this venture. And that was how somehow the channel grew from 200 to 675 as of this morning, I think 675. So it's quite amazing the amount of people that have popped on over. For me to have 675 followers is amazing to me. My experience with New York Sheep and Wool, I had never been. I had heard about it for many years through my friend Robin and my friend Sue, who are amazing makers, who had gone for many years. But I'd never gone because I didn't see myself at the caliber of knitter as they were. But somehow through podcasts, and seeing my makes and listening to other people talk about their makes and their frustrations that pieces not coming out right, or their challenges, it made me feel like I wasn't so alone. And that is why for the 2021 Rhinebeck event, I went, since it was the right time to go in terms of the crowds weren't going to be as large. I thought it would be a good foray for my first trip, and it was fantastic. My husband and my older son and myself went, and we just had a great time. I did have a bit of courage, and I did go to the hill to meet some of the makers there, and again with Kevin and Ray and Kim and Kate and Laura, and recognizing me and remembering me. I felt like I was I was included in the group. And that's how, and I just, at that point, I decided to just talk to everybody that I saw, and just, complimented them on their podcast, letting them know how much I enjoyed it, and how much, how appreciative I was of their content, which kept me company during my knitting times. Thank you for joining me here today in this split episode, and I hope it still made sense to you. Obrigada a todos que assistirem a este episódio. Foi feito em 2 partes. Until next time, até a próxima. Adeus. Stay well, be well. Remember to click like and subscribe, leave me a comment. I appreciate the feedback that I'm getting. It's really a joy for me to read your comments. So thank you, and until next time.